Okay, so now we're going to talk about this little Twitter thing that went viral featuring my Twitter friend, Sydney Watson, who's a big YouTuber and a Blaze TV contributor. She's a right-wing Australian woman. She tweeted, this is, and people will have thoughts on this. She says, she's a petite woman. She says, I am currently literally wedged between two obese people on my flight. This is absolutely not acceptable or okay. If fat people want to be fat, fine. But it is something else entirely when I'm stuck between you with your arm rolls on my body for 3 hours. She tweeted, I don't care if this is mean. My entire body is currently being touched against my wishes. This is terrible. I'm laughing, but it's terrible. I can't even put the armrest down on either side because there's no bleeping room. I'm sick of acting like fatness like this is normal. She said, if you need a seatbelt extender, you are too fat to be on a plane. Buy 2 seats or don't fly. And she says more. But so this is like a nightmare story. I'm wondering, have you ever had this experience? There's more to the story, but first, of someone who's very overweight and is like occupying part of your seat and touching. I know I have.
Yeah, I actually had this happen very recently because I almost missed my flight. I'm A-list, so I usually get to board Southwest first and pick my seat. Long story short, Atlanta's airport's a disaster, and TSA PreCheck was backed up, and I barely made my flight a few weeks ago, and so I had to board with seat group, which means I was in a middle seat like a peasant. And I was squished between 2 very overweight people, and I was wondering the same thing. I was like, I remember years ago, wasn't there a whole controversy because airlines started making people buy 2 seats if they were over a certain amount of weight? Did that just go away? Like, I actually was wondering this at that time because I was squished in like this, could not move. The guy was all in my seat. It was just super rude, very uncomfortable, and like invasive, right? I don't want to be touched by rando men on planes. Like, no thank you. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that policy. I do think, especially because airlines continue to condense the size of seats, right? Like, they keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. We have consistently less space to begin with. And so when you're already like buckled in there like a sardine, the last thing you want is somebody taking even more of that space. I don't understand like why, if you're an overweight person, why you would not just do that, because I cannot imagine it's comfortable to sit there crammed in to a seat that you don't fit in. So
I mean, I guess money is a resource. Like, some people were, so I understand that for overweight people, they might not be able to afford a second seat, but you might not be able to afford to fly then, right? Because you don't have a right to occupy half of somebody else's seat. And a bunch of people were replying to her and saying, just fly first class or buy business. And I'm like, sir, like, she shouldn't have to.
Why
this
should
is
she
an
have to?
airline problem as well. But so there's an update. She says, she's tweeting this all mid-flight. She says, update. Both the fats are sweating on me. I have realized that if I lean forward, I am less crushed. The only drawback is the man in front of me has his seat back, and I keep getting smacked in the head when he adjusts his chair. This is humiliating. This will begin my villain arc.
I mean, I have to say, I think she could be kinder with how she's talking about this.
She's
but
being
I do
very
understand.
dramatic. Yeah, she's being very harsh. I agree. But I can understand she's in a lot of discomfort. And so she says, I have begun eating my ham sandwich like a hunched over orangutan, head down, facing the floor, squished in my tiny pocket of space, getting hit in the head. No room for my drink bottle. A very sad time indeed. This is a plane ride from hell. This sounds awful.
What airline was it, and did they respond?
Yes. This is where it gets crazy. It was American Airlines.
Oh, yeah, they
and
suck.
she tagged them. And she replied. They replied to her, our passengers come in all different shapes and sizes. We're sorry you were uncomfortable on your flight.
What?
And she quote tweeted it. She said, this is really their official reply to me being sandwiched between 2 obese humans. Holy bleep. So I'm expected to only have a quarter of a seat when I fly? She tagged American Airlines again and said, I just experienced getting sweat on, touched without my consent, smacked in the face, and subjected to hours of no personal space. And your response is basically too bad.
I mean, to that I would say, like, do your seats come in all shapes and sizes? I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
Screw American here.
Them.
That's just a terrible response.
Yeah, that's horrible. I mean, this is what happens when I think, one, you don't have a free market system in the airline industry, because obviously they are not worried about competition. They are not worried about customer satisfaction.
They can just treat us like crap.
They can treat you like crap and then tweet out, like, basically get over it with some woke nonsense, you know, and that suffices as customer service these days. It's disgusting. I won't fly American. I already hated them. I'll fly Southwest, Delta, I'm out. Like, I won't take any other. I'm not joking. I really won't. And so I'm not really surprised, but I think this is just proof positive of why these airlines should never have gotten bailed out. They should be allowed to fail. A lot of them need to go under, and we need better options in the skies, because it's getting to be just, honestly, it feels like you don't even have human rights a lot of the times when you fly these days. It's really bad. I mean,
you don't even have the right to your own physical space.
Right. They're like, you'll get crushed and like it, and you'll pay us for it. Say thanks.
They basically said, suck it up, bigot. Like, they basically are.
Yeah. They're like, sounds tough. Like,
that's the thing. I have compassion for overweight people in some circumstances. There are some for whom it's really not their control. They're due to medical issues. There are some for whom it's rooted in deep-seated trauma and emotional issues. But I don't respect or accept the premise that, like, being overweight or being fat is somehow akin to an immutable characteristic like sexuality, gender, or race, something that you can't change about yourself. Whether, like, when something is ultimately for almost everyone a choice, a product of their choices, and it's not a permanent state of being or an immutable characteristic, it's not discrimination or bigotry to treat them differently because of it, or to have views or thoughts on how they came to be in that state. It's, again, I think people, and she was a little harsh. I understand she was in a stressful situation, unpleasant situation, and I might be even coming off a little harsh now. We should have empathy and treat people with kindness, but don't start giving me this woke claptrap about how overweight and obese people is like a race or like a gender, and that's a category of people that you're being bigoted against. Like, no, it's not, because it's not an immutable characteristic. It's something within people's control, which we judge people for all the time. What they choose to do with their lives and how they choose to be is the basis of our society, judging people for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you can be kind to people, but I don't think we should have to make all of these exceptions for people's bad choices, right? If you're a smoker, we don't let you smoke around us because it harms other people and invades their space. And I think this is another example of that same kind of premise. Like, if you want to be unhealthy and overweight, there are consequences for that. That's your choice, but the rest of us shouldn't have to pay the price for your bad choices. And again, the vast majority of people, like, can get this under control, should get this under control. This is becoming a massive problem in the West. We now have more deaths from obesity than we do from hunger. It's a huge issue, right? It's the biggest killer in our country when it comes down to it. Heart disease and disease are all things that are brought on by being overweight. And I'm really fed up with this push from the left to celebrate this or to act like it's okay or that it's like normal. It's not. It needs to be addressed. There's help out there. There's nutrition and programs, and diet and exercise can go a really long way, and it's good for you, and we should be telling people that, right? Like, these are good things for your physical health, for your mental health. So I really can't stand this kind of the response by American Airlines is what really gets me. Like, that is just so annoying. And
they would be better off not responding than doing that. That's absolutely disgraceful.